What if the secret behind the law of attraction wasn't about attracting, but about transmuting? What if the reason so many attempts fail weren't lack of faith or effort, but lack of understanding of the laws that govern the very mind? Quantum physics is beginning to confirm what Hermes Trismegistus revealed millennia ago. The universe is mental, vibrational, and responds to the consciousness that observes it. But few are ready to hear what this truly means. What we call reality is only a reflection of the mind. Thought creates, but feeling sustains, quietly shaping the field around you. In this video, you'll uncover 5 mistakes that keep the law of attraction from working for you, and the last one will surprise you. Because the ancient masters knew, and modern science is starting to prove, the universe doesn't answer what you want, it answers what you are. The first mistake is seeking power outside yourself. Since the dawn of time, humans have searched for what they already possess, looking for signs, masters, opportunities, and miracles, believing power is out there. Hermeticism teaches the opposite. Everything begins in the mind. As the Kybalion says, the all is mind, the universe is mental. This isn't a metaphor, it's a law. Everything that exists is an expression of the consciousness that beholds it. The universe is not a stage, it is a mirror. Every thought is a seed cast into that infinite mirror. Amit Goswami explains that matter is consciousness solidified by observation. In quantum terms, reality crystallizes only when the mind interacts with the field of possibilities. Hermes and physics say the same thing in different languages. What we call fate is, in truth, the mind taking form. As long as you believe prosperity must come from the outside, you vibrate lack, and the field answers with more lack. Physics calls this frequency coherence. Hermetic wisdom calls it vibrational correspondence. What you think, feel, and believe returns multiplied. Jung called this the psyche's projection, the unconscious tendency to cast its content onto the world. What you love, fear, or reject mirrors what inhabits your mind. The awakened seeker realizes reality is not a wall to climb, but a mirror to understand. Nothing can change outside until it is transformed inside. The error of seeking power outside is the root of vibrational dependency, the belief that something external must move before the inner can awaken. Consciousness is the true observer. David Bohm said that the visible reality is a projection of a deeper, more fundamental order. What you see is the echo of the universal mind and of your own. Therefore, the first key to manifestation isn't wanting, it is recognizing. Recognizing that the quantum field is not a distant force, but the reflection of your state of consciousness. Every mental choice is a command to the universe. When the initiate grasps this, they stop begging and start creating. They cease to be vibrational petitioners and become co-creators. What once looked like magic becomes applied science of consciousness. Will aligned with wisdom turns the invisible into form. The mind is the temple where the all manifests, and faith is the movement that opens its doors. But if everything begins in the mind, why do so many still fail to manifest what they desire? Perhaps because they think positive while vibrating negative. The second mistake is thinking positive but vibrating negative. Thousands repeat, "I am prosperous, I am abundant, I deserve the best." But inside, a quiet voice says, "I can't." This dissonance is the gap between conscious and unconscious. The universe doesn't hear words, it reads frequencies. And frequency isn't what you say while meditating, it's what you feel when you are silent. The human mind is a vibrational antenna, and what it transmits in silence outweighs any spoken affirmation. Hermes said, and the Kybalion records, "Everything vibrates." This means that even unobserved thought vibrates in the field. Thus, the real work isn't merely repeating phrases, but observing the mind in motion, being aware of what you think when you're not affirming anything. Silent vigilance is the first step of mental transmutation. Whoever witnesses thought without identifying with it begins to choose what they vibrate. That is the difference between saying, "I am light," and being light in a state of presence. Amit Goswami teaches that consciousness collapses the quantum wave. What you sustain and focus becomes real. But what you ignore, fear, guilt, anger, keeps vibrating in the subtle layers of the subconscious, influencing the collapse. While the conscious mind declares, "I deserve," the unconscious sends waves of unworthiness. The quantum field, ever faithful, responds to the dominant vibration. Mind doesn't manifest what it wants. It manifests what it believes. Jung called this the shadow. What consciousness rejects, the unconscious turns into fate. The universe doesn't punish. It simply reflects what went unseen. Every repressed emotion is an active vibration, silently shaping the field around you. Hence, self-knowledge is the foundation of all manifestation. Without bringing to light what vibrates in the dark, there is no transmutation, only repetition. Light creates only when it recognizes the shadow it once denied. Hermeticism teaches, to master the mind is to master the universe. This is not about control, but awareness. Attending to your own thoughts is like becoming the guardian of the inner temple. You need not fight the mind, only observe it. Observation dissolves the illusion of separation between thinker and thought, and when the observer awakens, the field changes. Power lies not in suppressing negativity, but in seeing it without fear. Physics points to the same phenomenon in different terms. The collapse of the wave function is determined by the quality of observation. Observe with fear, and you create chaotic interference. Observe with consciousness, and you generate coherence. The universe doesn't respond to the force of desire, but to the clarity of the observing mind. Every conscious thought is a form of vibrational prayer. Thinking is seeding, and every seed germinates in silence. Hermes said the mind is the field where the all manifests. Jung said consciousness heals when it observes without judgment. Goswami says the universe is the ongoing choice of consciousness. All point the same way. Conscious silence is the soil where true creation is born. So watch your thoughts as you would watch the wind. Don't fight, perceive. For the unnoticed wind is the very wind that steers your life. But if thought is the cause, what about the stubborn circumstances that seem fixed and unchangeable? What if the reality you see is only the past reflected, an illusion looping on repeat? The third mistake is reacting to the illusion instead of creating the cause. Most people react to the world they see without realizing the world they see is the past. Everything before your eyes is the result of the consciousness you held yesterday or years ago. What manifests is only the reflection of what has already been thought, felt, and believed. Despairing over what you see keeps you stuck in a time loop, recreating the same vibrational pattern that produced it. Despair is the glue binding the past to the present. Those who react to illusion empower the reflection. Those who observe with consciousness dissolve the mirror. If the universe is mental, everything that appears is a projection of an inner cause. Forget this, and you'll wrestle against your own creations. Believing effect holds power over cause. It's like trying to wipe a mirror's reflection without changing the face that produces it. This is the subtlest trap of the ego. Believing form is the origin. Hermes Trismegistus called this sacred ignorance, forgetting one's mental divinity. While the mind reacts, the field repeats. Tom Campbell says consciousness is the operating system of reality. In other words, reality is a simulation shaped by vibrational data. Each emotion, thought, or belief is a line of code running in that system. When you react to what you see instead of observing and choosing anew, you simply resend the same command. The lower mind responds with fear. The higher mind responds with intention. The first fights the reflection. The second programs a new image. Awakened consciousness understands. The external is only the echo of prior vibration. David Bohm said the visible world is a projection of the implicate order, a deeper, invisible level of reality. That level is the mental field, where the new is created. Only those who quiet outer noise can access it. Physics calls this the collapse of the wave function. Consciousness observes potential and chooses a new form. Hermes called it mental transmutation, the power to shift a vibration from one state to another. This is true alchemy, turning fear into faith, doubt into certainty, shadow into light. The law of polarity teaches that everything has its opposite, two ends of the same energy. So when the unwanted appears, it's not about fighting the negative, but transmuting its vibration. Sadness and joy are poles of one frequency. What changes is the degree. The wise do not deny the shadow, they use it as momentum to ascend. The conscious mind looks at what it doesn't want and asks, "What is this showing me about what still vibrates in me?" This is the power of alchemical consciousness, to see pain without becoming pain. Jung said, "What you resist persists." Resistance is a form of worship to the problem. Hermeticism echoes the lesson. What you fight, you feed. What you understand, you transcend. The universe doesn't respond to the force of reaction, but to the clarity of cause. When you accept what you see as the reflection of what was, and consciously decide to vibrate what will be, reality begins to bend to the awakened mind. Transmutation begins the moment you stop reacting and start creating. The Hermetic initiate understands. The world isn't against you, it's mirroring you. The quantum field is neutral. It merely reflects the dominant frequency. So the way forward isn't to change the mirror, but to change the mental image it reflects. Hermetic teaching. He who masters his mind, masters his destiny. Mastery is not control. It is wisely choosing the vibration you will sustain. Power isn't in reacting, it's in remembering you are the one who creates. But if the mind is the temple and the field the mirror, how do you protect that sacred space from stimuli that distort your vibration? How do you prevent fear, news, conversations, and other people's thoughts from contaminating your creative field? The fourth mistake is feeding the field with words and scarcity stimuli. The mind is a sacred field, and everything that enters becomes seed. Few realize they are cultivating scarcity with their own words, music, social media, and environments. What you consume daily is more than information. It is vibration. Every sound, conversation, and post carries frequency. Consciousness absorbs what it contemplates, even in silence. If you want to transform reality, begin by watching what feeds your mind. Outer reality shifts only when inner nutrition changes. The Kybalion says, "As within, so without. As above, so below." This correspondence means the world you live in reflects what you allow to vibrate within. Surround yourself with noise, drama, judgment, and pessimism, and your field will tune to dissonant frequencies. Every song that glorifies suffering, every conversation that reinforces lack, every fear-charged headline is a form of vibrational programming. The subconscious doesn't distinguish fiction from reality. It simply records. And what it records, the universe manifests. Bruce Lipton showed that mind can reconfigure biology. Our cells respond to our mental interpretation of the world. If the environment is toxic, the body declines. If harmonious, it thrives. Consciousness behaves the same. It expands in elevated energy and contracts in dense vibrations. People are not neutral. They are walking frequencies. Living among chronic complainers is like standing inside a field of interference. Scarcity is contagious, and so is prosperity. Quantum physics calls this field coherence. When two vibrations meet, the stronger tends to entrain the weaker. Choose environments that represent the future you want to live, not the past you wish to leave. Every space, sound, and presence influences the collapse of nearby possibilities. Nothing is accidental. Your home's energy, the content you watch, the tone of your conversations, even the aesthetics that inspire you, everything programs your creative frequency. All of it speaks to the field. Hermetic wisdom calls this the law of rhythm applied to mind. What repeats becomes pattern. If you desire prosperity yet feed your consciousness with noise and chaos, you vibrate off rhythm with abundance. And like an out-of-tune instrument, the mind cannot emit the note of creation. To manifest your desire, you must harmonize inner sound with outer sound. The words you hear, read, and repeat are vibrational chords, and each chord projects a reality. Not guarding your thoughts is like leaving the temple doors open while you sleep. Mental vigilance isn't spiritual paranoia, it's vibrational mastery. As a gardener chooses the seed, the initiate chooses the stimulus. The universe doesn't judge what you plant, it multiplies what you water. So, the purity of attention is consciousness's most precious currency. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, your reality grows. Mind is the filter between the invisible and the visible. Who tends, what goes in, governs what comes out. Choose music that elevates, spaces that inspire, and people who reflect the life you're creating. The all is mind, and your mind is your personal universe. What you contemplate with frequency becomes the atmosphere your soul breathes. All creation is born from the air that consciousness inhales. But if what you see is the reflection of what you vibrate, what happens when you truly recognize that everything is connected and separation is only a mental illusion? This is the final key Hermes Trismegistus reserved for those ready to hear. The fifth mistake is believing in separation. Of all mental illusions, none is as powerful or destructive as the belief in separation. It is the root of personal suffering and collective discord. The idea that you are isolated from the all generates the fear that fuels war, scarcity, loneliness, and guilt. From the moment we believe we are only the body, consciousness begins to fragment. The stronger the ego grows, the farther the all seems. Hermes Trismegistus taught the opposite. The all is in all, and all is in the all. Separation is an ego, illusion that forgets itself as a divine spark within the all. Modern physics reaches a similar conclusion in another language. Fritjof Capra describes the universe as a living web of interconnection. Nothing exists independently. What affects one particle affects the whole field. So too in consciousness. Each thought sends waves across creation. Tom Campbell explains reality as a cooperative simulation of conscious information. What we call me is a character in the game. But the player is the one consciousness, experiencing itself through countless forms. Forgetting this truth generates pain. Separation is the veil over the eyes of the soul. It convinces us to compete to survive, to fight to be loved, to dominate to feel safe. It turns siblings into enemies, peoples into borders, and differences into threats. Individually, it breeds anxiety, envy, pride, and comparison, because the ego survives by being special, thus separate. But the ego is only a mask. Persona comes from Latin personare, that through which the sound resonates. The ego is the instrument, not the musician. Jung taught that true individuation is not isolation, but integration with the self, the divine spark within each one. The ego is the lens. The self is the light passing through it. When the lens believes it is the light, it obscures the all. Identifying blindly with the character blocks awakening. The limited mind believes it is here, while the divine is there. Hermeticism teaches the entire universe is held within the divine mind. The all is not outside, you are in it, and it is in you. Separation is a dream where the dreamer forgets they're asleep. In physics, quantum entanglement shows that two particles, light years apart, behave as one. The universe is not many parts. It is an indivisible whole. Bohm called this the implicate order, a hidden unity sustaining all things. The Hermetic axiom is ancient. all is one, and one is all. Separation is the visible side of the invisible, an illusion needed for consciousness to know itself. When we awaken, we realize we were always home. All pain is born from resisting this unity. When you feel envy, fear, or anger, you have simply forgotten who you are, reacting as the character instead of consciousness. Remember, the all moves through everything, even difficulty, and fear dissolves. In that state, faith isn't belief, it is recognition. You stop begging and start cooperating with universal intelligence. True peace doesn't come from controlling reality, but from remembering you never stood outside it. Consciousness is the ocean. We are the waves. A wave may call itself I, but it never stopped being sea. The ego fights the tide to prove its individual importance. The awakened consciousness flows, knowing every rising wave returns to the all. Freedom is recognizing you are not the body that lives, you are the life that observes. When this memory returns, scarcity ends, because there is no longer an other or threat to fear. Hermetic wisdom teaches, unity is the foundation of true prosperity. Those who feel separate try to fill a void. Those who feel one overflow. Abundance is the natural state of consciousness that recognizes itself in the all. Lack is only the echo of forgetting. Thus, the great Hermetic initiation is not acquiring something outside, but remembering what you already are. The soul does not seek the all, it awakens within it. And in that instant, the entire universe aligns with your new state of consciousness. But if the all is in all and all in the all, why do we still feel fear, guilt, and helplessness? What keeps us tied to the illusion of being only the character and not the author of the story? Here is the great secret of the Hermetic masters. Transmute, don't desire. Of all Hermetic laws, few are truly understood, and the most powerful is mental transmutation. The ancients called it the secret of alchemists, but it was never about turning lead into gold. The real gold is awakened consciousness. To transmute is to raise the vibration of a lower state into a higher one, turning fear into faith, hatred into love, scarcity into abundance. It is mastering the inner movement of mind, not the outer world of forms. Hermes Trismegistus called it the art of the gods, changing reality by changing the thought that sustains it. Most fail with the law of attraction because they try to attract the gold while refusing to become the fire. If all is mind, then matter is thought condensed. If matter is thought, it can be molded, not by force, but by frequency. The lower mind wants to control effects. The higher mind alters the cause. Hence the Hermetic instruction, do not desire, transmute. Desire often springs from lack. Transmutation arises from remembrance of the all. The Hermetic alchemist doesn't ask for what he wants, he becomes what he vibrates. Amit Goswami teaches that consciousness is both creative and self-observing, collapsing reality according to the observer's vibrational level. Changing mental state is literally changing universes. Physics calls it wave function collapse. Hermeticism calls it vibrational transmutation. Both describe the same power, turning the invisible into visible by coherence between thought and feeling, mind and heart. It's not enough to think light, you must feel yourself as light. The heart is the transmitter that sends the pattern the mind conceived. Jung likened the unconscious to a vast laboratory where unresolved emotions wait to be turned into wisdom. Transmutation is precisely this, the inner work of raising the energy of the shadow. What is repressed doesn't vanish, it becomes destiny. The initiate doesn't flee pain, they observe it until the lesson appears. The flame of consciousness burns the dense, not to destroy, but to refine. Mental alchemy is the inner fire that transmutes experience into understanding, matter into spirit, time into eternity. The process is simple, but demands courage. Observe the mental state that dominates you. Fear, anger, anxiety. Acknowledge it without judgment. Shift focus to its vibrational opposite. If there is fear, evoke trust. If lack, evoke gratitude, not as denial, but as transition. Mind is a pendulum. The Hermetic adept is not dragged by its swing, he changes the point of balance. This is the living application of the law of polarity, converting one extreme into the other by raising frequency without denying experience. The Kybalion states, "The principle of polarity is the foundation of mental transmutation." Change doesn't occur by escape, but by elevation. Mind works like a magnet. It attracts what it matches in vibration. So, it's not about resisting the negative, but rising until the negative finds no correspondence. Lack cannot enter a mind that vibrates gratitude. Fear can't survive where faith resides. This is true spiritual protection, vibrating so high that density no longer recognizes you. The initiate doesn't fight darkness, he lights the lamp. To transmute is to choose consciousness over reaction. The moment the mind awakens inside the dream and realizes, nothing out there has power over me. The outer world is only the echo of inner vibration. When vibration changes, the echo changes. Prosperity isn't attracted, it is reflected. Love isn't conquered, it is remembered. Life doesn't change because you ask, it changes because you become. Transmutation is when the seeker stops asking for miracles and becomes the miracle. Thus you grasp what Hermes meant and what the Corpus Hermeticum declares. That which is below is like that which is above, so that the miracle of unity may be accomplished. To transmute is to realize this miracle, aligning human with divine, form with essence, visible with invisible. There is no greater power than transforming your state of being. When the mind resonates with the all, the universe responds. At that point, desire loses meaning, because the all is already in you. But if the secret is to become what you desire, how do you raise and sustain that vibration every day? How do you remain in tune with the all when the world tries to pull you back into illusion? Now you understand what Hermes Trismegistus taught millennia ago, and what quantum physics is only beginning to prove. The mind isn't in the universe is in the mind. Everything you see, feel, and experience is consciousness observing itself. Reality is not something that happens to you, but something that happens through you. When this perception awakens, life ceases to be a search and becomes a mirror. The seeker disappears, and the creator emerges. This is the Hermetic key the law of attraction was missing. Power was never outside. Hermes, Jung, and modern physicists say the same thing in different tongues. The universe is a living mind, and you are its extension. Separation is the great illusion. Remembering unity is true illumination. This wisdom is the bridge between modern spirituality and ancient Hermeticism. Amit Goswami calls it quantum consciousness. Hermes called it the all. Both speak of one reality, a living intelligence that responds to intention. Transformation happens when you stop trying to attract and begin to resonate with what you choose to be. The universe doesn't react to words, but to coherence between mind and heart. That is the difference between those who merely know the Hermetic laws and those who live in harmony with them. Knowledge without application is noise. Wisdom is sustained frequency. If this message resonates, remember, you didn't arrive here by chance. If this video found you, it's because the all called you to remember what you've always known. Like, subscribe, and share, because by doing so, you teach the algorithm and the universe to bring more Hermetic wisdom into your reality. What you vibrate, you multiply. And by choosing to multiply light, you become part of the collective consciousness expansion. Before you go, access The Key to Prosperity, a practical guide to applying Hermeticism to your financial life and vibrating real abundance, not through desire, but through awareness. To continue your initiatory journey, the next video awaits, diving deep, both scientifically and spiritually, into the mystery of conscious creation. Remember, the universe doesn't change because you ask. It changes because you awaken. Until the next initiatory encounter on the path of Hermetic wisdom,